Donald Trump seizing on the FBI's renewed investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server to help boost his campaign, some calling it a gift. At rallies over the weekend, he slammed what he calls Hillary Clinton's latest bombshell of corruption.
Now the FBI has found, you're not going to believe this one, this just happened, another 650,000 emails. How do you get to 650? I think that's called the mother lode. I think they found them all. This is the single biggest scandal since Watergate. We all know about Hillary's mounting legal troubles that she's brought onto herself with her willful and deliberate criminal misconduct. Hillary Clinton is not the victim, by the way. She's not the victim. You, the American people, are the victims of this corrupt system in every way.
But even with Trump hammering away at this issue, his campaign manager says the email revelations will not be the main focus of their campaign in the final stretch. Watch.
We have a couple of different paths to 270, and we'll just continue pursuing them this week. We're also talking about Obamacare. People are opening up their mailboxes, clicking onto their computers, and seeing their premiums are rising out of control. We're talking about ISIS, job creation, and certainly ethics, but we don't plan on making the Comey investigation, the main centerpiece of our messaging. Mr. Trump will continue to talk about what he's talked about all along.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the damage that he can do to her by using this. New polling shows that 34% of likely Hillary Clinton voters see less likely that they would vote for her because of this. That seems to be something to talk about.
You know, I think his goal needs to be the undecideds, because this information over the weekend, and I'm parroting now Larry Sabato of the University of Virginia, knows more about this than I do, will actually drive Democrats to vote for Hillary who thought she was going to win anyway. They'll now come to the belief, well, she needs every vote she can get. It will drive some wavering Republicans to vote for him because now they have even more antipathy towards Mrs. Clinton. So Kellyanne Conway may be onto something, that the undecideds are more interested in the different presidencies the two would have, rather than her emails about which they've heard enough. At least that's the way I understood Kellyanne.
I mean, clearly this is an opportunity for him to grab all the positive headlines, and every headline about her right now is speculation over what the FBI found or is finding in those emails. Isn't this an opportunity for him to just take that high road and just hammer in on his messages?
Yes. Now, in fairness to her, those 650,000, we talked about this, are unlikely to be all hers. So even though we said to the crowd they've had 650,000, they're not all Mrs.
What if 6,500 are? What if 1% of those emails either have classified information or they are directly pertaining to Secretary of State, something that she should have turned over?
This brings us back to July 5, Jim Comey's press conference. She didn't commit a crime. She was not grossly negligent, the standard under the statute. She was reckless. Recklessness is Hillary Clinton, right? That's the mistake that he made at that time, which I think he's now trying to collect. The mountain of evidence sufficient to indict, prosecute, and convict on July 5 was overwhelming. He's discounted it.
Okay, but go ahead, Mel.
No, I was going to say, bringing it back to Trump's strategy for a bit here, because I was happily on duty all weekend and probably watched more of the Trump speeches and Hillary's, for that matter, than anyone else. He was very smart, too. He certainly hit on the scandal that was going on, but he went right to Obamacare. I mean, that was the #1 thing I would think he probably spent the most time on this weekend, that goes along with Kellyanne's strategy. And for a lot of Americans out there, that's what matters to them right now. They're opening up their bill, and they're seeing that their premiums are jumping to $1,300 a month. All of these different numbers that they can't afford, and they're like, it's very nice that you guys are all talking about whether or not she can be trusted, but I've got bills to pay, and I can't pay them. Obamacare's a disaster.
And that's a smart pivot for them, because I think the thing that really influences people here for undecided voters in relation to Hillary Clinton, it's not the details of what the emails contain or who has them or the relationship between Huma and Hillary. I think the important thing here is people realize, like, this is going to bleed far past Election Day, and what is in here, and what else has this woman done, and is she accountable for? And that's also what drives the unfavorable ratings with her and the untrustworthiness.
Judge, real quickly before we move on from this issue, there was a suggestion in Insiders on Fox Report last night that Donald Trump actually used the free media that he gets to talk about Obamacare, but by 30 minutes to have like a fireside chat to talk about Hillary Clinton. Irrespective of how the media might want to couch his comments, he pulls out of that. Quickly, what are your thoughts?
I think he's far better off, and far be from me to give him advice, but I think he's far better off in front of a crowd. I think he'd be bored himself doing a 30-minute fireside chat.
We'll move on. Hillary Clinton appears to be reversing course, going negative big time on Donald Trump, so it's interesting how the two campaigns are dealing with this. Just 2 weeks ago, she was laying low while Trump dealt with the fallout over that leaked video from 2005 where he made lewd comments about women. Clinton lightened her schedule and was touting a largely positive message. Fast forward to now, after Friday's FBI bombshell, Clinton is in attack mode. Watch.
Donald Trump is doing his best to confuse, mislead, and discourage the American people. I mean, he's such a downer, right? I mean, who pretends to help kids with HIV and AIDS in order to make themselves look good? And it's time for him to stop fear-mongering, stop distracting from what's really at stake, and frankly, stop disgracing our democracy. We can't let him get away with it. Of course, because he's refused to release his tax returns, we don't even know if he's ever given anything. But here's what we do know. With Donald, it's always Donald Trump first and everyone else last.
And Hillary Clinton's campaign even released a new version of the haunting 1964 Daisy ad about nuclear weapons to raise fears about Trump.
This was me in 1964. The fear of nuclear war that we had as children, I never thought our children would ever have to deal with that again. And to see that coming forward in this election is really scary.
Trump asked 3 times. 3 times, why can't we use nuclear weapons?
I want to be unpredictable.
All right, so she's going negative. Is this in bounds, that ad? I heard you make...
I sighed because I'm probably the only one on this couch old enough to remember that ad.
But we study history.
As a fierce supporter then and still lover of the great Senator Barry Goldwater, it pained me then, it pains me now, but it was profoundly effective. It terrified the American public, all but the hardcore conservative Republicans, which were fewer in those days. And Lyndon Johnson won in a landslide. Is it fair? I mean, at this point...
Isn't it bounds?
Yes, I think it is bound. It is in bounds. Almost anything is in bounds at this point. But it is unusual for the leader in the polls, which she has been, and to a certain extent still is, to go so negative. Usually the leader in the last 7 days wants to act presidential, so he gives her arms around
Yeah, she doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to do this. Caught flat-footed. They have no idea what is in this trove. The FBI is not being forthcoming. James Comey has gone rogue. He and Loretta Lynch are no longer working together. I believe that Lynch was shielding the former Secretary of State and was informing her of what was going on. That's why people have so many questions about the meeting that the Attorney General and the former President had in Phoenix. And now you see, and it's funny because Hillary Clinton says that Donald Trump, perhaps hasn't donated any money. Well, we know that he donated to the best charity in the entire world, the Clinton Foundation. So that's not fair.
But to be clear, to go back to the I don't even know if I can continue. But James Comey, you said it would be illegal for him at this point to give any update on the investigation. So it's not that he's holding out on us at this point.
When the Democrats say, show your cards, and the Republicans say, show your cards, he's not going to show his cards.
Okay.
They should be careful what they ask for.
So talking about Hillary Clinton for a second, I had to go look up the exact words and the exact date, but October 23rd, following the 3 presidential debates, she said she doesn't even think she's going to respond to Donald Trump anymore. She's going to let people decide, the American people decide what he offers and what he can offer to them. She's going to talk about what the next president should do. She's certainly, as you just rolled tape on her in recent days, she's certainly getting away from that and now on the attack going after Donald Trump.
Change the subject. So last night on Fox Report, Doug Schoen, who worked inside the Clinton White House for 6 years,
good friend of many
known Hillary Clinton for such a long time, dropped a bombshell on us, and he brought up the words constitutional crisis. I want to watch it and ask you about it.
Okay.
If the Secretary of State wins, we will have a president under criminal investigation with Huma Abedin under investigation, the Secretary of State, the President-elect Schoen under investigation, Harris. Under these circumstances, I am actively reassessing my support. Harris, I'm deeply concerned that we will have a constitutional crisis if she's elected.
Wow.
I want to learn more this week, see what we see. But as of today, I am not a supporter of the Secretary of State.
Constitutional crisis. He says that we will grind to a halt.
Right. Doug is a friend and a very bright person and a well-educated and well-schooled lawyer. But I do disagree with him. In a case called Clinton against Jones, that's when Paula Jones sued Bill Clinton. The Supreme Court basically said if it's civil litigation, if it's an automobile accident, sexual harassment, the president has to answer for it. If it's criminal, the president doesn't have to answer for it until after he or she is in the White House. That's issue number one. Issue number two, I know this seems unthinkable, almost unpardonable, hint, hint. And there would be a tremendous political reaction, but she could pardon herself.
Wow.
Barack Obama could pardon her the day before. We would do it the day before because of the political reaction the day after Election Day. So I do think Doug's concerns, though well-grounded, would not play out the way he fears they might.
But isn't it interesting that this is exactly what it would be like again?
Yes.
I mean, you remember the Clinton days, you remember the constant legal challenges, you remember the parsing of the word it. We are right back to exactly where we were before, and it would be another 4 years just like that.
We might actually be back to where Richard Nixon was when he was inaugurated in '73, with law enforcement snapping at his heels. You don't remember? How long have I been around? When law enforcement was snapping at his heels from minute one and caught up with him in the summer of '74.
Who gets ignored in the process?
Say again?
The people.
All of us.
Yes.
The economy.
Yes.
No matter how it works out. All right, we'll move on. It is on. Hillary Clinton and her team also in attack mode against FBI Director James Comey after he said his agency took another look at Clinton's email scandal. Whether this is a good strategy to go after Comey too, or could it backfire?